Stafford emergency. Why? What's going on? It's in flames. It is? Okay. Shakespeare Theater is in flames. Right. Shakespeare Theater itself? Oh my God. Please, oh my God. It's in flames. Okay. We'll send them right out. Thank you. Oh my God. No. There's so much history lost. Okay. They're on the way. Oh my God. Okay. Oh my God.
Breaking news this morning out of Stratford. A piece of Connecticut history is gone. Stratford Shakespeare Theater destroyed after a massive fire. Take a look at this. Around 2 this morning, several witnesses sent in videos like this one to report it. Flames shooting up in the air. You could see it lighting up the night sky. It could be seen from several hundred feet away.
The theater is sacred to us. It's special. To the actors, it was just a place, a location. But for us, it was a spirit. The spirit grew as the theater died.
The Shakespeare Theater in Stratford, Connecticut is a theater built in 1955 by a group of theater professionals who were part of the Theater Guild, based in New York City. The purpose was to create a nonprofit theater and put on Shakespeare's shows and keep the magic of his works alive in a town partially named after his birthplace. During its peak season, the Shakespeare Theater attracted millions of tourists and lovers of the theater through lively performances starring some of the hottest names at that time. Actors such as Christopher Plummer, Katharine Hepburn, and James Earl Jones were some of the few that took the journey to perform at this small-town theater in New England. While the Shakespeare Theater may not exist anymore, it sure lives on in the memories of many. Whether those memories are seeing plays, a teenager's first job as an usher, or getting their first big break on stage, the Shakespeare Theater was home for many individuals.
What I remember real vividly is I saw Kornofsky do Shylock here. I remember, and that one my father and mother took me to, and then we had a picnic right out here on the lawn. And I remember walking to the parking lot after, and I was really upset and saying to my father, how can he call that a comedy? How can that play is just, there's nothing funny about it. I think Kornofsky made a great impression on me, and that performance it's one of the reasons that I became an actor.
One of those individuals is Haley Nelson. Haley is a lifelong Stratford resident and a longtime lover of the theater. Her relationship with the Shakespeare Theater begins at a young age, as she recalls attending the Shakespeare Festival on the grounds when she was in elementary school.
So I'm Haley. I have been involved for almost about a decade. I was thinking about it a lot last night. I grew up going to the festival in town when I was in elementary school, and my first actual involvement was in 2014. I was fortunate to do a summer internship with Connecticut Free Shakespeare, and we worked on the production of As You Like It. So that's really when I was getting involved working actually inside the theater. Even though it was condemned, the staging area wasn't, so that's where we would build a lot of our sets and our props. And from there, I was fortunate a couple years after to work as a stage management fellow for the Stratford Academy at Shakespeare, which is the part of the Mighty Quinn Foundation. So I've definitely been involved in it for, well, actually, we're counting going to the shows and the festival around a decade. So.
On January 13th, 2019, tragedy struck as the beloved Shakespeare Theater was lit ablaze and burnt to the ground. The unexpected tragedy left many Stratford residents in utter shock. So much history was lost on that night. Dozens of emergency vehicles from Stratford, as well as Bridgeport and Milford, flocked to the scene in order to tame the blaze almost immediately. Unfortunately, it was too late. By the time the calls had come in, the entire theater was engulfed in flames high enough to be seen from miles away. Within hours, the historic building was no more.
So it was the winter after my stage management fellowship. So at that point, the previous summer, was working really closely on the grounds, and it was always a big part of my life, but it kind of had a new, deeper meaning now that I had this other connection. So I remember waking up and having several family members text me, did you check the news? Do you see what's happening? Did you go see Shakespeare Theater? What's going on? And I remember looking it up and just seeing that picture of just it smoldering and the metal trusses just bending, and of course one of the oak trees that was lost, and just having that be totally destroyed. And so it was the same moment and same feeling that you get when you lose a family member.
Residents mourned the loss of such a town treasure. In the days following, immediately the question was, what should we do with this now empty plot of land that has held such fond memories in the town for decades? Town council meetings were hosted for months, trying to brainstorm ways to preserve the history. Tom Dillon, a co-chair of the town council meetings, came up with an impactful plan to rebuild.
So we came back, it was a scene. I mean, it was burned to the ground. It was shocking to have such an enormous structure just utterly gone. I mean, there was nothing left except some steel piled up, and it was just a shocker. It was just something that had been sitting there for so long that you just figured it would always be there. That even if we all agreed on what we wanted to do, even if there was a plan, even if there was a dump truck of money, it would still take years to move through the process of building and recreating a theater. So in that forum process, we built in the question to ask, what do people want to see in the short term? How should we use the property while all that work is being done so that it doesn't just sit idle for more years? And over again, residents far and wide said it's not really rocket science. It's like, let's have a cool market there. Let's just use the property. Let's get people a reason to come out and enjoy that really beautiful parcel on the Housatonic River. So all of a sudden we decided to do a market, and it was an amazing event. It really was like a crazy, like unimaginable thing. The very first time market, like kind of an off the main road place. And, I left the house thinking like, wow, this, maybe if 300 people show up, this will be amazing. I just really, thought that would be the high point. And it happened right away. As soon as the vendors were set up, just cars were everywhere. It was absolutely bewildering. We had no idea. Like the parking lot filled up, the driveways filled up, the ring around the old theater building, that was clogged up. I was standing on Elm Street for 2.5 hours directing traffic in and out of the property. We had cars backed up down to the boat launch, all the way up onto Academy Hill. We completely snarled the intersection on Ferry Boulevard. And, by the end of the day, we had a clicker, a hand counter, and we put 2,700 people on the clicker, and we think at least 300 to 500 other people showed up that we didn't count. People were driving around in circles. They were stuck in traffic on the ring road for 20 minutes before they could get in and out of the property without finding a parking space. So we think more than 3,000 people showed up on the first day. It was just unimaginable. It was just incredible.
The emotional rebuilding was a whole other challenge. But thanks to the Shakespeare Market, the grounds are being repurposed in a way that gives back to the community.
Hi, I'm Stefania Halverson, and I'm the co-owner of the Drunk Alpaca. We are a beer-infused bake shop where we bake with Connecticut beer, hard cider, whiskey, bourbon, and we infuse it into beer snacks like potato chips, pretzels, nuts, and we also infuse it into our baked goods like our brownies, blondies, and pies. I think everybody that comes through, they talk about being Stratford residents. I think it's really great, something to do on this property that has been well-known for so many years, and it's just something that they can all gather and do and support.
Hi, my name is Shari Obuck. I live in Branford, Connecticut, and I'm part of the Shakespeare Market. I have two companies under one roof. I have Bake Bake Hooray and I have Knit Knit Hooray. Everything is handmade, hand-dyed, and home-baked. I love this market. It's a lot of the same people you see every week. I see the same dogs every week, and people, even today, it was not very nice weather, and people came out.
So that got it going, and it showed it that like people would come out, and we kept going. We put them on through April, and still people were just coming out in droves. We ran it all year, and at the end of the summer season, we were like, let's see if it works. Let's see if it happens again.
Since its beginning in 2019, the market is hosted every first and third Sunday of the month, and rain or shine, the community does not miss it.
It was so much fun, and I just, it was at such a low moment, and I just can't even tell you the amount of joy and excitement it created. People were reaching out right and left, and as much as I've ever seen anything in this town, everybody from every perspective really just enjoyed it. They were grateful for it, they were happy for it, and it helped support dozens and dozens. We think maybe 50 to 75 small businesses now have benefited from being at the market, either regularly or intermittently. And I'm thinking in 2021, our first year, we brought between 20 and 30,000 people to the property, which have been, largely quietly used for all those years. So it did exactly what we were hoping for.
The fire was certainly a loss across the community. Everyone in the town can be connected to the theater in more ways than one. The emotional outreach to come together during this time was an indescribable feeling.
I just have a lot of gratitude for the people in the community who have fought for this theater. And I have just great memories of just building sets and getting the props together, and the sense of community that you do find in theater, but you don't necessarily find this everywhere with theater. And whether it be with Connecticut Free Shakespeare or the Shakespeare Academy, it just was such a warm and welcoming environment. And it's something that isn't necessarily gone. It just needs to find a new way to thrive. And I'm excited for when I get more opportunities to be involved in those bigger community projects, and what I can do to contribute and kind of pass the torch in a way and tell my story about the theater and encourage the younger generations to become involved and continue sort of creative projects on the ground.
The theater may no longer stand on the grounds that it has since 1955, but its memory sure lives on in the hearts of Stratford residents.
Good night. Good night. Parting is such sweet sorrow that I shall say good night till it be morrow.